Hi, my name is Richard Yates, and I'd like to share with you my story of cancer and how I dealt with that. And my wife is going to ask me questions today to keep me in line, make sure I don't skip and miss anything, because I certainly would without her help. So here we go.
Okay, Richard, so the journey began.
2005, I was 40 years old, and been healthy all my life, no hospitalization, things like that, just colds, normal stuff. But I was at work one day, and it just seemed like a normal man flu kind of a thing happening, and that, so just shrugged it off, be gone in 24 hours. But then the second day, it got more ominous. It was sweating, nausea, actually throwing up, just shaking, which is not normal. So I thought, yeah, this is definitely a doctor visit involved here. So off to the doctor, and he said, look, this is like pneumonia or something, but there's nothing in your chest. So I said, let's do a urine test, and does a litmus to test for blood in your urine. And there was a lot of blood in my urine. So he said, off to the hospital, let's get some tests done, x-rays, blood tests, those kind of things. So our little tiny town we live in Australia, and go up there and they do those tests, and they said, go home, we'll call you with some results. Just got home and the phone's ringing, and they said, look, pack a bag, get back up here. That's not good. That's never good. So head back up there, and they sit me down and they said, look, we believe you have acute myeloid leukemia. And that does not really register exactly what that is. I didn't know the impact of that. I've heard of leukemia, but never really gave it any thought of what it is, a blood cancer. But I did find out how serious it was. So it was a learning lesson there. But then from there, it was a journey.
It was a journey, all right. So what happened from that hospital? Did you stay there?
Nope. They called an ambulance, an hour-and-a-half trip from our little town to Melbourne, Australia, down the road, which is one of the biggest cities in Australia. And Peter what they call Peter MacCallum Cancer Institute, which is a very good hospital. So they saved my bacon a time or two. So kudos to him. But went down there and began treatment that very night for the white cells in my blood were exploding in numbers. So they put me on a machine called apheresis machine, which I've never heard of. But the apheresis machine, you have an IV in each arm, and it's sucking blood out of one arm, running it through, filtering out these white cells, and removing them, and getting your blood to a normal count, and then putting your blood back into your body just to get it manageable. It doesn't cure anything. It just kind of fixes the situation you're in, which is very dangerous. So from that, the next morning, I'm onto the chemo, intravenous chemo.
So chemo straight away? Straight away.
And it was nonstop then for that, what I found out to be of chemo.
Okay, and at that time, were you fearful?
Very, very. It was a scary time. You're learning all these things about leukemia and how deadly it can be, and then you're facing kind of basically like a barrel of a gun. You're looking down all of a sudden where life was normal a few days before. So it does rattle your cage big time, and you do become very fearful. But I was praying a lot at that point. And
did you have faith prior to this?
I did have faith. It wasn't the faith like I have now. I experience in my life now. I have the Lord in my life, but back then I was much more shallow. But I need to pray. I need to pray. So, and that did come from me at that time.
So the treatment, can you explain that? The 3 weeks on, what were you ill? Like, did you feel really ill right from the start with the chemotherapy?
I did. It took a couple of days before it started to really sink in, but it definitely brings on the nausea you hear about, and then there's diarrhea that comes.
Hair
also.
Loss?
What's that?
Hair loss?
Hair loss, yes. All this happened because of that. I wish I could blame it on that. It's not pre-existing hair loss. But no, hair loss, definitely. All the body hair goes. But it comes back. It does come back. Not this, but everything else did. But no, it do suffer those kind of things, hair loss. But they do give you medications to help ease the nausea and the diarrhea a bit, but it is definitely something you'll endure. And then the taste of food was a thing. It just tasted very different. It wasn't appetizing. It tasted metallic. to me. I mean, everybody's different, but that's the way it was to me. So it wasn't a pleasant experience to eat, but I knew I had
Did you
to.
lose weight while you were going through that?
I did. It was a strange phenomenon. The chemo they were giving me would make you retain fluids. So I was swollen, and the swollenness was made it look like I wasn't losing weight, but I was. So it was kind of a strange phenomenon. It didn't look like it, but I was definitely losing protein, for my body, muscle shrinkage, all those kind of things were happening. So yeah, it does mess with your body a bit.
So 3 weeks in hospital, 1 week home, and you did that for 3 months.
Yeah.
When you were home for the week, what was your routine? Did you just
laying around and sleeping a lot? It definitely knocks you around and makes you very tired, lethargic, weak feeling. So there wasn't much to be, it's just sleeping and you get up and use the toilet basically as your exercise routine, so there was not much going on during those times.
And when you were in hospital, did you sort of share a room with anybody or?
4 beds in a room in Peter McKellen back in the day. I don't know what they do now, but you did have 3 roommates, and yeah, you get to know them. It's a lot of time down, with all these other people in there, and there'd be ladies in there too at times, and you talk about your life out there, family, friends, and commiserate with each other about what we're going through, how we're feeling about it. That's a big help. That's huge. That's we're all sharing that, and other people don't experience that, so they're not seeing it through our eyes really. So it does help to talk to people that are suffering through that at the time also. So I found that really beneficial. I understand they do have counselors now. I know they do, that come and talk to you. I don't think they did as much then, but they definitely do now, that have like-minded diseases and treatments as you have now. But it did help big time just to talk about it with your roommates and getting to know them, so it was a good experience to share with each other like that. It really was.
Absolutely. And what about your children? How did they cope?
They're older. They were at the time like 13 and 15 and very upbeat kids. So it was and I don't know if they understood the full gamut of what was happening or what could happen. Very upbeat. Also we were, but it was they did well with it, and they're good kids. So they did do well with it, and you can see how upbeat they are in those fix. But yeah, no, they were great kids, and definitely lifted my spirits a lot. I did have other visitors come in also, and that was always look forward to those phone calls and things like that. So kind of fill in your days, and you look forward to those little things, And I found too, my just compartmentalizing my day, not thinking about 3 months from now, all that I'm going to have to go through, endure, and that would just be kind of bring you down. But if I just thought of my day right now, the immediate part of it would be a very better way of looking at things. My phone calls I might have, or a movie I might look forward to watching on the player that night, little things like that, visit. So those little things were what I'd concentrate on the near future, helped me a lot.
So when your treatment finished after the 3 months, were you in remission, or what happens?
Actually, funny story, I actually got remission 3 weeks in on the very first treatment. So the very first treatment was, I had remission, and I thought, wow, I can go home. I don't have to do the next 2 months of treatment. But they said, yes, you do. So to make sure it's knocked on the head. So the next 2 months here, I already had remission and had to continue doing all the chemo. So it was almost like a little cruel joke, but it's very, very great to know that you already had remission early on.
So you come home, you've done your 3 months.
Yeah.
Then what's the plan? Are you how long did it take for you to get back to work? How did you feel?
It was a couple months really before I got back to work. It was very weak and lethargic. Had to force yourself to do stuff. It was very easy just to stay in bed, not do anything. But you need to do it. You don't use it, you lose it, kind of thing. It's very true. And you master your own destiny. So you need to take it and, get out and do that. you know, so you need to, you know, get up and walk around, go a little farther the next day. You know, that's something we have to do. So it benefits yourself.
Oh. And so you got back to work?
I did get back to work, and that was just light duties kind of thing. And I didn't have a job that was very taxing physically at the time, which was good. So that made it even easier. But yeah, it's amazing how quickly this can change your life and come up on that. And that's one lesson I want to say to anybody out there, you guys especially, can be stubborn. I know I am. But if you have these like little symptoms that come up, pay heed. You know, this is amazing how quickly something like this can get on top of you. So go see your doctors. No crime in that. So definitely take and see those GPs anytime you see anything odd coming up.
So you've gone back to work. And, how often do you have to go back for visits to the doctor?
It was pretty regular at first. It was like weekly, and then it turned into 2 weeks, and then like a month, and and it's a good thing. Less they want to see you, the better. You know, you're less of a worry to them. So that's a wonderful thing. It's not that they don't care anymore. They do, but you're less of a concern. So that's a good thing when that gets fewer and fewer, the visits to do. But the blood tests, you know, they'd always do the blood tests with it, and you always have that in the back of your mind, at least I did, you know, that, you know, is it coming back? Because they're testing to see if it's okay, if it's not coming back. And so you do worry about that a little bit, but that's one thing I had to make in my mind, that, you know, you're fearful of those, but do not let it control you. You know, fear visits everyone. Do not live within you. And that's the hard part with this. You need to let it go. And with time, I got easier and easier where I didn't think about that. And you know, it didn't haunt me. I didn't think about it every day. You know, it starts to go away. You need to make it go away. Live your life, you know.
How long were you in remission for?
3 years. 3 years in remission, and that it did come back. And that's another story for another day. And I'd like to thank you for sharing my story today of cancer. And next time I'd like to share with you the story of the bone marrow transplants that happened on the next journey into cancer, and a very different story there, and how I overcame those challenges and that came my way. And so I want to thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.